The state government has moved to reassure Kogan farmers that it is investigating water quality near a trial underground coal gasification plant. The Department of Environment and Resource Management did more testing today, but it says water already tested contained hydrocarbons at levels 2,000 times lower than the acceptable standard for stock. There is no evidence of mercury. But as Kathy McLeish reports, locals at Kogan say the government and the department were too slow to act.
The rising tide of anger over mining has hit boiling point.
Without the questions asked, we will never get the answers and we'll never get compensated.
An underground coal gasification burn at one of 3 trial plants in the state left cancer-causing chemicals in water supplies at Kingaroy. After some prompting, the government acted.
This is an industry that we would like to see succeed. It can't come at any cost.
But landholders near another trial plant at Kogan near Dalby accuse the government of being tardy. They say for more than 4 months it knew of the potential that its water could be contaminated but dragged its heels.
We knocked on a lot of doors and just got nowhere.
Rob Lowe says farmers in his area became concerned long before the contamination in Kingaroy. After heavy rain in the area, farmers were confronted by an unusual sight.
I'd never seen dead turtles before, and we haven't seen any turtles in the creek since. But we are seeing fish. But there's 2 of the fish swimming around and they've got growths on that we've seen.
Another local, Bill Anderson, said the discovery prompted locals to do their own water testing.
It has been virtually impossible to get Derm to do any testing. The testing seemed to be just put back onto the mining companies themselves, and so we decided to do some testing of our own.
He says the initial results were shocking. The report showed mercury 5 times higher than the Australian guidelines. Farmers say they had no option but to cut off the water source to stock.
We sign a vendor declaration when we sell cattle, and if we don't know what's in that water, we can't sign that vendor declaration.
After landholders confronted the minister with the test results 2 weeks ago, the Department of Environment and Natural Resource Management responded. Early testing showed the water at Kogan Creek contained hydrocarbons, which can contain benzene and toluene. But in a letter to locals, the department said further analysis would be needed to determine which chemicals were present and at what levels. Landholders told Stateline they were flabbergasted at the time it was taking. Yesterday, the Director-General told Stateline that the department was comfortable with the results of the later testing.
Our officers disclosed the testing results, given them the actual lab samples, and actually provided confirmation that we didn't see exceedances of benzene or toluene or heavy metals in that sample. We're testing tomorrow and we'll provide the results as soon as they're in. But both DERM, Biosecurity and also Queensland Health are of the view that it would be premature at this stage to consider that there was a risk to stock watering from these testing results, because they're 2,000 times below the stock watering guidelines.
But locals say they were never told of the most recent results. They say all along the department has not kept them properly informed. When news of confirmed contamination came from Kingaroy, the government and the company did send help and clean water to farmers.
Only by going to that briefing by the DERM officer in Kingaroy. He had a satellite map there which showed the 2-kilometre exclusion zone, and one of our properties was definitely in that zone.
2 springs and a bore on Wendy and Mark Buttsworth's land have been fenced off, and the company, Cougar Energy, has carted clean water to their cattle.
Kathy, at this stage we don't know. It's indefinite, and we've just got to, I guess, work with DERM until our water's all cleared. Yeah.
Wendy Buttsworth says though authorities say the amounts of toluene and benzene were below the level acceptable in drinking water, she's still worried.
I just don't think they were prepared for anything like this happening, and they really didn't know how to respond.
Should they have?
Absolutely. Like if this was foot and mouth, where would we be?
Other families too are demanding answers and a more secure future. The O'Sullivan family will lose their land if the UCG plant at Kingaroy goes ahead.
Very stressful. Yes, you can't make plans. It's, just upsetting for the kids. Our youngest daughter continually asks, well, are we going to be living here? Or do we have to move? When do we have to move? Where will we go?
Locals are now calling for the coal gasification projects to be shut down for good.
If our local member, Dorothy Pratt, hadn't asked, questions of the Minister in estimates time on the 15th of July, this thing would have obviously fallen through the cracks and we would not have known about it, and that thing would still be burning.
I'm absolutely furious because I actually believed in this technology. I believed that the government had put in place all the measures and controls to make sure that my community wasn't hurt in any way, shape or form. And so I feel that I've been let down personally, as well as the people in my community.
She says the government's management on the issue is very poor.
Self-monitoring is like Caesar judging Caesar, and believe me, it doesn't work.
She believes the water at Kingaroy could have been contaminated for at least a month before the department started testing.
What was that very first reading? That's what I would like to know, when that leak first occurred. Was it only 484 or was it 400? We don't know, and until I get a lot of answers, I'll be asking an awful lot of questions.
The news of contamination at Kingaroy and fear of contamination at Kogan has prompted the Greens to speak out against the state government's handling of coal gasification projects.
They set up a pilot plan to find out whether you would accept it.
Drew Hutton says mining activities and farming don't make for good neighbours.
There are mining sites all over Queensland which are basically toxic waste dumps which have all sorts of off-site impacts. What's different now is that we're bringing this industry into settled areas and into good agricultural areas.
The state government insists safety is its priority.
What I've done in response to the Kingaroy matter is asked my department to go back and thoroughly check all information provided by the companies, hence these requests for records going back at least a year. What I've also asked the department to do is to put in place a more vigorous regime of random checks. I understand the priority and the need for community confidence for both in terms of what the company's doing, but also how government is monitoring the circumstances.
So you'll act?
Absolutely.
Carbon Energy, which operates the Kogan trial, says mercury has never been found there and isn't associated with the process. It says the technology is environmentally sound.